I cannot talk to people about what I go through except the people that I've gone through it with. I need that from the people that I talk to. I need to know that they're understanding what I'm telling them, not not rationally, but emotionally.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to another episode of 911 Delta Tethered for Life podcast. As usual, this episode may not be suitable for all listeners due to language and content, so listen with care and stay safe out there.
Of 911 Delta Tethered for Life podcast. We're your crazy hosts, Kacey and Anna. And tonight we have a true veteran of public safety with us, Chip, who boasts over 55 years of experience in the field. Chip's journey began with his first ambulance ride at just 13 years of age. Since then, he has worn many hats, from firefighter medic to now dispatcher. So join us as we dive into Chip's remarkable career and hear his invaluable insights on the evolution of public safety. So grab those headsets. Let's talk. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of 911 Delta Tethered for Life podcast. We are your hosts, Anna and Kacey, and tonight we have a special guest joining us, Chip from West Virginia. Welcome, Chip. We are glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
We know this is going to be a fun-filled episode with you, as you have a 55-year plus career in public safety. So we will jump right in, and if you can go ahead and tell us about that.
I actually made my first ambulance call when I was 13 years old, which probably makes it sound like I was very devoted and whatnot, but actually, my father owned a funeral home, and that's who did ambulance service at that time, and I was free labor. By the time I graduated high school, I had seen more than my share, I suppose, of things. And I just that was also at the time. Right then was when Adam 12 and Emergency were very current shows, and I used to watch Emergency and think, how great that would be to be able to do all that stuff because all we could do was slide them into the back of a Pontiac ambulance and drive like hell. So I think, oh boy, that would be great. This was just amazing. So then I went on. I got my EMT, and back then, and at least in West Virginia, I don't know how it was anywhere else. It wasn't like it is today. You couldn't just go to a community college and say, "Gee, I want to be a paramedic," and pay your tuition. It did not work that way. You had to first. You had to have. I'm trying to remember. It was either a year or 2 years active service as an EMT. After that, you had to be recommended by your squad medical director. Then you had to take a written test. And assuming you beat out the other people on the written test, then you had to do an oral interview. And if you got through all of that, then you were allowed to be enrolled in the paramedic program. But when I first entered into it, I mean, it was pretty much all EMTs. Which in a lot of ways wasn't too bad because you learned how to handle things yourself. You didn't have anybody to call. So it built a lot of confidence. Probably killed a few people, but the resources just weren't there. So and then I actually I trained originally in Morgantown, West Virginia. Had no desire whatsoever to be a firefighter, none at all. And I moved back down to Southern West Virginia, which is where I'm from. And the fire chief here and the assistant chief kept just absolutely wearing me out about joining the fire department because in Morgantown we did all rescue, we did everything, fire rescue, we did automobile extra. My squad anyway did automobile extrication. We did mountain rescue. We did everything. Well, they didn't really have anybody here that knew anything about those areas, and so they kept trying to get me. I mean, they rode me like a pony, and until finally I said, okay. I thought, well, it wouldn't be bad. Work the occasional car wreck, that kind of thing. and he ended up getting involved with it and absolutely fell in love with firefighting. It wasn't like anything I had ever done before. And back, I always tell the story back when I went into firefighting, it wasn't so much like it is now. We didn't use air packs. We didn't use that stuff. We had them, but they were between 45 and 50 pounds. And then our gear was a whole lot heavier than it is now as canvas. So we went in on our bellies with our face down on the floor because that's the only place that there was air. So it's changed, and I've seen that development, and then I've seen the development of EMS from the days of Pontiac and Cadillac chassis ambulances to the way it is now. I mean, right at the end of my career, I would look at the list of things the drugs I could give and the procedures and I could perform, and I'd be like, really, seriously, you're letting me do this? You're letting me shove this needle in this guy's chest? Okay, you're letting me give adenosine and stop his heart. This is cool. So I've seen that whole gamut, that whole change, and it's been a really interesting ride.
Like that whole evolution. Where I took EMT class in Southern Virginia was back then it was also mostly EMT, right? So they had a couple of ALS providers in buggies, but it was kind of a big city, so whether they would be close to you or not, and my husband, he started out in a rural area, so there was a long travel time to the hospital, and they didn't always have ALS. So he got his ALS once he, became of age, because he started when he was 16. And but yeah, like this whole evolution into ALS everywhere. And I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, you've got 30 more years than me, so that's an insane, just seeing transition. And you haven't dispatched the whole time, but I'm sure know the transitions that the dispatch centers have gone from paper ticket.
Oh yeah. I mean, of course this is a small community. Like I say, I actually trained in Morgantown, which was where I was mostly it was a college town. That's where West Virginia University is. But we had a lot of rural areas too. But then when I moved down here, I mean, this is rural. We have 45, 50-minute transport times to the closest hospital. So we got really close with our dispatch people because they were the ones that were watching our butts for us. They were the ones that took care of us. They were the ones that saw if we needed law enforcement, it got there. They were the ones that got us help when we needed it. So we got pretty close with them. And when they decided they want ice cream, they got ice cream. So we've I've always had an appreciation. Our dispatch people. I'm actually I'm in a very small center. We only actually have 3 consoles. We typically have 2 people on duty at a time. But we're busy. I mean, we're usually pretty busy. And when I first became familiar with it, before I went into dispatching, the equipment was just, it was really antiquated. We have a director now, though, that works really hard at getting things upgraded, getting new equipment. We just got a new CAD system. We're getting ready to get a new phone system. Our radio system was upgraded about 2 years ago. So, I mean, even just the little bit of time that I've been involved with it, I've seen, a pretty good amount of change. I left actively working in the field. I had some health problems and had to leave, and I could decided I just sat here all day, and I'd hear the sirens, and that old fire horse in me wanted to get into harness and go, and I actually seriously got very, very, very depressed. I was struggling. I was having a really hard time. But the director of our county's emergency operations, emergency services, he's an old friend of mine, and he asked me if I wanted to come up and start dispatching part time. And I'm like, well, yeah, give me something to do, and I stayed with it. And now I'm full time. I've been full time for quite a while. I've been up there about 5 years now.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, one
So
of the
you,
girls asked me one night. She said, "Well, why are you still working at this age?" And I said, "I don't know how not to.
yeah.
Don't I know how to do."
Well, that's because
And I have a wife that appreciates the financial ends of it, but I just like to think uh,
And yeah, and she probably also appreciates the quiet time.
yeah, I'm sure she does
Hmm.
appreciate getting me out of the house, but
Hmm.
I tease about her, but she has been my rock for almost 4 decades,
Wow.
Yeah,
and I don't know what I would do without her.
that's
She's the
great.
one that's gotten me through the hard times, and I'm blessed to have her, and I'm blessed to have my family.
Yeah, you definitely have to have a great backbone, family, friends in this line of work for sure.
Yeah.
And we've said that numerous times. Can you share a memorable, good, bad, or both experience or call from your career that's had a significant impact on
I've
you?
thought of a couple of them. Um, the first one I'm going to tell is quite a bit more serious because it happened at a time when I hadn't been a paramedic very long, and it brought the responsibility of what I was doing home in a way that even for all the years I've been doing it had never really been brought home to me. We got a call late one night out in one of our trailer courts in Morgantown, and we go diddy bopping in, and we've got our life pack 5, which weighed about 45 pounds alone, and my drug box and all this stuff, and there was a couple there, middle-aged couple, that said that they couldn't wake their daughter up. So we went back in her room in the trailer, and there was a blonde-headed girl laying face down on her bed. And I spoke to her and shook her and couldn't rouse her. And I rolled her over. And when I rolled her over, she had a pill bottle in her hand. And she was an extraordinarily pretty young girl, about 17, 18 years old. Um, and I set to work. And of course, I was the only medic on the truck. I had a couple of EMTs working with me, but the whole ALS thing was mine. And I went through my drug box and then sent back to the station, had another drug box brought out because I didn't want to give up. And finally, our medical command they shut me down. That's it. You're done. Um, and then I had to go out and tell these people that their daughter had died, and I'm sorry, there's really nothing else I could do. And that that brought the weight of the world down on my shoulders. And that call was probably 30 some years ago. And I still see the room. I can still see her. I can still see the pill bottle roll out of her hand, all of it. And that one really brought the weight of it all on me, of being a medic. Being a medic's different than being an EMT. It's a lot different. The second one is one that my wife actually likes me to tell. Um, and I have to preface this by saying this was many, many, many years ago. And just before this happened, there had been a terrible mining accident in Pennsylvania, and some miners had been killed up there. It was really tragic. But we get a call one afternoon, and a fellow was working in a ditch, and the sides of the ditch get weighed. They weighed it, buried him about I don't know, up to his thighs maybe. He was, he's stuck. He couldn't get his legs out, but he was in no grave danger. So we set about shoring up the sides of the ditch and dropping a ladder down, going digging them out. Well, about that time, one of the senior members of our department, one of the upper echelon officers, came up, and he was watching. He was, I suppose, in command, but a reporter from the local newspaper came up and was asking about this, and he was saying how this thing collapsed, blah, blah, blah. And he made the statement. Now this is not on the magnitude of the Pennsylvania mine disaster, but and I'm like, what? It's a ditch. And he does this big long explanation, and I'm like, it's a ditch. And maybe where you all come from, I don't know if you call them drainage things or what. Around here we call them a ditch.
It did. Right.
So we're taking this guy out, and he's giving this whole big long lecture on confined space rescue and all this stuff, and how dangerous it is the walls could collapse. And I mean, say along with me, it's a ditch.
It's a
And
ditch.
that is actually one of my wife's favorite stories, and it was funny. And it's one of those things where you always like to be put in a good light. You like to be made out a hero, but it was a ditch. I mean, well, you're going to look real brave on this, because we're like 6 feet down. It would be different if it was the gaping maw of a cavern that somehow had opened up underneath of him, and he was holding on, just trying to save his own. It was a ditch. I mean, that's just so. Yeah, that was one of the funniest things that's happened to me. She likes that story, so I tell that
That is a good story.
Indeed. Oh my gosh. All right. So, how do you manage the stress and maintain resilience in such a demanding role?
I found heroin helps. But,
The hero.
no, heroin. No, I touched on it early, and honestly, it's my family. It is. I have my wife. I have 2 wonderful daughters. I have 5 great grandkids, and now 5 grandkids, and now 4 great grandkids, and that's what keeps me, wanting to get up in the mornings and go do it. And when your soul gets dark and heavy and everything, and your great granddaughter looks at you and says, "I love you, granddad," then hey, you're good.
Yep.
God smiles on you, and the light comes in again, and you can keep going. That's it for me. It's my family. No two ways about it.
Well, that's good that you have that. Now, I know that mental health and PTSD is really close to you. We've talked about it briefly before the show. What would you like to? What are your thoughts on that, especially with the career that you've had? Like, I'm sure back in the earlier days, you didn't hear much about mental health, because I know just by me growing up in the 70s, 80s, I don't recall ever hearing anybody with mental health issues, back in those times. So,
We all have mental health issues. They just weren't
right,
really diagnosed.
right. So you've heard seen it, but
when I first started in emergency services, it was very much the police / military outlook. You stuffed it down and you went on to the next call, and hey, I'm tough and it doesn't bother me. And how you doing? Oh, I'm great. Ha ha. Let's go have a beer after work. And so nobody dealt with it. It just was. And well, here I am all this time later, and I do have PTSD. When I was evaluated for it, the psychologist did all the testing and all that stuff, and said, come back next week and we'll go over your tests and whatnot. So I did, and she's going over all these graphs and charts and stuff. And I said, well, bottom line, do I have PTSD? She's like, oh yeah, you got PTSD. So I mean, it is what it is. I have it. I deal with it the best I can. But what worries me is the young people. That's what worries me. Is I don't think we're teaching them how to deal with it, and I think we know enough about it now that we need to look at that. I read a statistic that really shook me up. I think it was in gyms, I believe it was, and it said that first responders make up 2% of the population. We make up almost 20% of the suicides. So that to me is rather alarming. Like I say, I've always been the kind of medic or firefighter, whatever. I like to teach people coming into the work, but I just don't think we're doing a very good job of it. I don't think we're getting through to them that this is serious, this is real, and this is going to happen to you. You know, so you need to learn how to deal with it. You need to and prevent as much as you can. But we've got these kids that come into this work, and then especially now it's so much different. It's where we have so many staffing problems, particularly in EMS. Staffing is just horrible in EMS, and people are working, you know, 48, 72 hour shifts. And all of a sudden, the time when they're off, they're drinking themselves to death, and the next thing they know, they got a gun in their hand. And they don't know how they got there.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see, I'm not a smart man, so I don't know what the solution is, but we got to get into prevention. All the treatment in the world ain't as good as prevention. So
Totally
Right.
that's my thing.
And the mentality of the younger folks that are coming in to this career, whether you're dispatching, police, fire, EMS, whatever, like, I think they're so, this is going to sound really bad, and I'll probably catch heat for this, but they're so bullheaded. Like, it's like, oh, I'm badass, I'm this and that, I'm riding on the fire truck, yeah. You
Yeah,
are
I mean,
badass or whatever, but at the same time, you've really got to pay attention because,
yeah. And I mean, and I was too. I was Billy Badass. I mean, I was cocky as hell, and I mean, my wife will tell you she met me when I was still young and could walk, but yeah, I mean, I was cocky. This stuff's not going to bother me. I don't know who those other people, these weaklings, but
right.
this shit don't bother me. And then too, I think even more so in dispatching, you don't really think about that in dispatching. I'm going to go up. I'm going to answer the telephone. I'm going to talk on the radio.
Yeah.
They don't understand what they're going to hear, and they don't understand the emotional toll it's going to take on them. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. It's
Right.
it's taking its toll.
Do you
Um,
find it different, like actually seeing it versus hearing it? Because we had this discussion our last episode.
it is different. Um, Out in the field, um, and this I'm going to get a little bit graphic with it, I think, but
Roll
you
with it.
you hear the screams and you smell the blood, and you feel your boots sticking to the carpet because it's soaked with blood. Um, you see the family members. Um, so it's different. The stress for me in dispatching is the fact that you are removed from it. You can't control any of it. It's all happening on the other end of that line, and it's all under somebody else's control. And the only uh, weapon you have at your disposal is your voice.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, so it's a different kind of stress. Um, and I can't, I'd love to be able to say one was worse than the other, but honestly, I can't say that it is. I mean, it's going to take its toll on you either way.
Yeah.
And I
For
think
sure.
people that get into dispatching need to be made aware of that. In fact, I think I ran a boy off a few weeks ago. Yeah, I did. I mean, we weren't meaning to, but he was kind of a quiet guy, and he was only about 18, 19 years old, I guess. He just started this train. And me and one of the girls that I worked with, we got to tell him more stories. I mean, you know how it is. And about 2 days later, he called up and quit. He said, I can't take it. I can't take that risk. Okay.
Well,
You
it's
know, yeah,
better that he figured that out early
yeah.
on than wasting his time, your time,
Or
being a
God forbid getting somebody
liability.
killed because he
Right.
locked up. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I think I wonder too, like you said, that, your family was really key for you. And with like the birth rates declining, with people being kind of in this hyper independent mode nowadays, a lot of them are coming in, they don't have that. So,
Yeah.
they've got broken families in their past, and then they're single, they don't have that network.
Yeah.
So, I wonder sometimes if that doesn't play into it. And you're
Oh,
right,
I'm
we
sure it does.
we
It
do
has
need
to.
to be a better at prevention and better at telling
Yeah.
people. We've talked before on the show, like, all the dispatch seminars and things that I've been to, or classes that were offered on dispatcher stress. I mean, it was like, really? I mean, this is not
Yeah.
what we need. What we need
No.
is, this is what's going to happen, and this is how you're going to react. And then this is, everybody reacts, and you have a little bit different maybe fallout from it, right? But
Yeah.
the physiology is still the same.
Right.
And if we can teach people about that and how to recognize, oh, this is what's happening to me.
Hmm. And teach them early on to build that support network.
Yes.
Um, and I don't know how you all are, but this is the way I am. Um, I cannot talk to people about what I go through except the people that I've gone through it with. Now,
Right.
my wife, I can share an awful lot with my wife. She has learned over the years that how to help me deal with it. But there are some things I can't even share with her. I can't, and she knows that if I tell her I don't want to talk to you about that, then to leave
Yeah,
me alone.
that's good.
And she's wonderful about that. She is, but I don't want those images in her head. Um,
Yep.
and when I went for that evaluation for that testing, the therapist said, "Well, you if you would like, you can stay here, and and we can." I said, "No, I can't. I'm not interested in starting into therapy with you." And she said, "Well," I said, "I can't talk to you." She said, "Why can't you talk to me?" I said, "Because you don't understand. You don't get it. And I
Yep.
can tell you about it forever, and you will never, ever get it." And I need that. I need that from the people that I talk to. I need to know that they're understanding what I'm telling them, not rationally, but emotionally. You know.
Right.
So I tell people early on, listen, find somebody you can talk to. You know, preferably somebody that's been in the business a while. That understands what you're going through. And like you said, understands the physiology of it, understands the progression of it from that young kid who thinks they're going to save the world to that old timer that's just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
Um,
Right.
so
Well, I think
yeah,
that's,
you're right.
yeah, that's a really good point too. And we've had many people tell us that, they thought that they were going to traumatize the therapist by telling them, you know, what they knew, or they had therapists that told them that they were traumatized, or
Yeah,
therapists that cried. And our own
yeah,
Dr. Meredith, who we've had on a few times, was really interesting. I was talking with her the other week, and she does a lot of work with the military as well. And she had been down doing some work with the military, and with a different, and I don't even remember what specialty they were or what, but it was not like special operators, right? And she works a lot
yeah,
with like special warfare. And she said it's so different because special operators, they have had psychologists embedded with them and in place with them for 20 years now,
yeah,
right? And so they understand it. The psychologists understand it. They work as a unit. They want to hear what the psychologist has to say. but these other branches, these other specialties in the military, she's like, they just want to know, like, is this person screwed up or not? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are they? And she's like, well, it's not how this works. But they don't understand that. And, so it's really interesting. Like, I feel like we need more people almost to get out and become psychologists or.
Well, it's really interesting that you say that because we have a gentleman here in my town who was a state trooper for years, and he went back and got his master's in psychology, and that's what he does now. He's retired from the state police.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
I
can talk to him.
Right,
awesome.
Right.
I could, but yeah, you're right. I think we really would benefit. And I actually tried here in town to kind of develop a peer support group, but nobody would come because it's either they were embarrassed or well, it's not going to affect me, or they didn't want the people that they work for to know, hey, they're doing it. I don't know,
right?
But we just couldn't get anybody to come.
Right. Well, and as Dan, Kacey, when we talked with Dan, and he was saying, that we work in this low trust environment, right?
Yeah,
we do.
That I think it's hard, and Kacey and I have talked about that before, like, with the peer support, or it's like, can I trust you? Like, I don't know, and that's part of our problem. Like, we're low trust for a reason because we deal with the heroin addicts, so it.
Oh, now see, my wife will tell you that I'm just, contrary to that, I'm just one of the most trusting people in the world. I have absolutely no paranoia about me whatsoever.
Right, okay, you always sit with your back to the door.
Yeah, I'm getting this. Oh yeah, no, my family knows. I mean, my grade school granddaughter knows. Granddad's not going to sit with his back to the door. So if we're going to go to Golden Corral, you better figure it out so that Granddad can be, just,
right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's like I say, when people are out to get you, paranoid is just good thinking. So,
right. Yeah,
my family accepts that about me.
Yeah, when we went out, we don't go out to dinner together that often anymore, but recently we did, and they sat us like at this table that was kind of facing the wall. And we were both like, so we kind of like sat on an angle. So we like faced each other, and there's a stairwell coming up, and like sat, because I'm not going to sit there facing the wall with people rolling up behind me. What? No.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way too.
Yeah, I caught myself at work a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. One of the guys that works there, it was actually one of the supervisors, and he's a good friend and whatnot. Well, I hadn't heard him come into the dispatch room, and the next thing I know, this guy's behind me, and I'm like, "Don't do that!
Right.
Don't sneak up behind me like that, Josh." And he's like, "What? Don't I'm
yeah.
Well, okay, I will also tell you this. West Virginia is what they call a constitutional carry state. I don't know if you know what that means. I do not leave the house without a gun. I don't.
A lot of Virginia's the same way.
Yeah, yeah, and I just don't. I just don't leave. I don't leave the house without a gun.
And is it an open carry state too?
Yeah, okay. It's open carry, but you can also conceal carry here.
Right, Virginia's the same,
you can
right?
do both. Yeah,
and I love the people that call and they're like, this guy's got a gun on his hip, and it's out in plain view, and
okay.
Well, see, but I'm from West Virginia. Here it's more like, okay, we've got a guy that's not carrying a gun, You need to straighten his ass out.
Right. Right. Right.
Where is this cat?
But
Right.
yeah,
Where's it? He must be from the
yeah,
city.
he moved here from Vermont or something. I don't know, but you need to
Right.
straighten his ass out.
Oh,
But
my
yeah,
goodness.
and I did go. And actually, I went ahead, even though we don't have to have a concealed carry permit here. I got it because I do travel through Kentucky and Virginia.
In Virginia,
With
right?
my
Because you have to have a
daughter
permit,
Yeah.
right,
lives
in
with me.
Virginia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
conceal.
they are West Virginia. So,
Yeah.
but, if I could get away with it, I would carry my AR, with me as well.
Right.
My,
Right.
again, my wife has forbidden that.
Mhm.
She said it's tacky and
She
it clashes
sounds
with
like
my
a really
character.
smart
Yeah.
lady. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's,
I mean, it was a big to
she is
do when
she
I
is my
moved.
sanity. I have to say that she is my sanity.
Right. Don't get her in trouble now, Casey.
No, she's my sanity. I'd be off the rails without her.
Yeah, well, it was a big to do when I moved to Central Virginia because it's rural out here. Like that, when guns weren't allowed on school grounds anymore because,
Yeah.
like, the kids would go hunting in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and their shotguns would be in their trucks when they,
Yeah.
or their rifles or whatever, right? So that was a bit like,
Yeah.
how the hell am I supposed to get to school on time? What am I, I'm like,
What part of Virginia? Well, let me just tell you, my one daughter lives in Abingdon, my other lives in Lynchburg.
okay,
So
okay,
Well,
that's where they're from.
all right,
Well, we're in Fredericksburg, basically. So
right. Well, she's
Not-
east of Fredericksburg, and I'm west.
Yeah.
I'm out in Culpeper,
Okay.
and so
I'm
It's
in
pretty
King,
out there. It's
King
pretty.
George. So yeah.
I love Virginia. Virginia's a gorgeous state. So
it is, and about the one more thing about the door thing. So, Casey will appreciate this. When we got our new public safety building, they put in these solid metal doors, right, with key fob entry to the dispatch center.
mhm.
Well, they put peepholes in them. I don't know how high up the peepholes are, but I can tell you it's taller than 4'11". Okay,
I mean, but
so
pretty
look,
much anything is. However,
and I used
Yeah.
to do well. I prefer to do fire dispatch, which was on the door side of the room, and so if somebody didn't have their fob and they knocked on the door,
Mhm.
I'm not answering the door.
Yeah.
Like, you're somebody who can see through that peephole, and there'd be a unit outside, like, keying up on the radio, like, it's me, let me in, like, because I can't see who's on the other side of that. Who put those peepholes there?
Yeah.
someone
See, we have
definitely
cameras.
taller. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't.
We have the cameras, and so you're like, who the
Yeah, we
hell
didn't
is
have it in
that
the
out
hallway.
there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, we're like, who is that? That's we have the cameras, but we have the solid doors as well, and so that's, but like I said, we have the cameras, so we can at least see who it is,
Yeah.
before they try to get in, and it would take them long enough to get to the door that I can get to my gun in my locker. So. Ladies, I'm serious. I'm not lying to you here.
Oh, I believe you. I totally believe you.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm more than just a little bit paranoid, and way more than a little bit jaded. So
It happens. It happens. And I think it's so
I haven't
funny.
seen
That's
the
what.
best families.
Yeah, I mean, people that don't work in the public safety, they don't get it. They don't
No.
understand.
They do.
And I tell people, listen, it's like, of course, nowadays everything is anti-law enforcement, I actually identify so much more with the cops than I do people on the street. I don't
Right.
identify with them. I don't know what it's like to be them anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
What it's like to be a cop. I've never been one, but I've done everything else, and I know what they go through.
Yeah.
So I can't. I don't do. I don't. I have a grandson-in-law now who's become an officer. I have another grandson-in-law who works in corrections.
Hmm.
I mean, that's my family. That's who we are.
That
And
is.
so they at least get me. Actually, my wife just reminded me, and I'm glad she did but she has, she refers to him as her brother because she was raised with him, but he legally is her cousin, but he actually is, he's my brother-in-law, and he retired from the West Virginia State Police as a detachment commander.
Oh,
So,
wow.
that's my family. That's who we are, for better or worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, that's awesome. So, Chip, what are the key qualities or skills that you believe are essential for someone working in public safety?
I think the key thing for me, particularly in the the climate that we're in now, where everybody just feels so entitled, you know, and their feelings are the most important, and this, blah 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 blah. Um, Realize, look, it ain't about you, you know, um, and so get over that, or don't go into it because it's not about you. You're going to work weekends, you're going to work your birthdays, you're going to work nights, and nobody gives a shit how you feel about that. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And we've been doing this for years, and we don't want to hear your bitchy little whining about it. So yeah, that would be my big thing, is just tell people, listen, be sure you want to do this, because I know as well as I do. Um, People in emergency services, we don't tolerate that stuff well. That entitlement,
No.
we had no problem telling you, get over it.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit what you think about it. We work nights, and you're going to work nights.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I really think that's, you can talk about the obvious. Oh, we want people who are intelligent. We want people who are, empathetic, blah, 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 blah. No, I want people that realize it's not about them, and are going to put the public first and do the job. That's what I want sitting beside me.
That's very good.
Yeah. That is definitely great advice because it is not about you at all.
No.
Yeah.
Well, see, I grew up, I was born in I can't remember. No, I was born in 1955. World War II had not been over that long.
Right.
Both my parents served in World War II. I was raised with a sense that you have a responsibility, you have a duty to community, to your nation, or whatever. Um, and sometimes you just got to suck it up and go on. And kids nowadays, they don't have that. It's
They
all
do
about
not.
them. It's all about their tender feelings. I have to have a safe zone. Well, you better get someplace else because this ain't it, baby.
Right.
We will ride you like a bank mule. Uh, I've run more than one person out, man. I mean, and that's the way we are. And but I like to say that, make sure that you want to serve the public, because if you expect the public to serve you, you are screwed.
And if you
Yeah.
expect the public to be grateful, woo,
Yeah.
you might as well
Oh
just.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
when
not
I
happening.
when I was a new medic, where I'd go strutting around in that blue uniform and those shiny boots and everything, and I realized real quickly I wasn't impressing nobody. There is an ambulance driver. Oh, that's why I went to school for a year.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. If you expect the public to thank you, yeah, not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
It's not
Very
happening.
rarely, once in a while, but
Yeah.
not often. So
Well, and I think
that's my
it's,
advice.
yeah, and it's funny, like, I was thinking about that, talking to a friend the other day, and she lost her house in a hurricane. And so, and talking about dealing with the Red Cross and their volunteers, and she was not doing it very well. And I was thinking to myself, it's probably a lot like being a dispatcher or any public servant, right? Because it's not that these people want to be ungrateful, but they're in a state, like their nervous system is in a state where they can't process enough to be grateful, right? Like it is all about them right in that moment because everything is falling apart. And so that's something else that we need to train dispatchers, firefighters, policemen, everybody, that like when you're dealing with these people, they're so elevated that even if you save their life, they can't process that, right? So you have to sort of be able to not pat yourself on the back and be a cocky ass, but you have to be able to get gratification from that internally and not expect an external, which I think is a big problem with the younger population, right? Because they're so, they grew up with social media, right? And they want the likes and they want the, whereas like we didn't
everybody gets a participation trophy.
We didn't have that shit.
You don't get that.
Right. You failed grades. You don't have no social media. And if you lost, you lost. Oh well, come back next year, try again.
Exactly. And that's that's the way it was. And I have to say this too. In my area, I am a very rural area. We are very economically depressed. And I'm going to hear shit about this. But we have a lot of people who are on welfare. We have a lot of people who are on some type of public assistance, and have been for 6 and 7 generations.
Right.
And they are entitled. They feel they are entitled. And, whatever they want, they're supposed to get. And that's very much the attitude around here. I have another little quick story. But I have a bad habit of telling stories that I shouldn't tell because they make me look bad. But I was hauling a woman into the hospital one day, and there was nothing wrong with her, and she was just being a bitch. I mean, and I finally had something in my hand, and I set it down. I said, ma'am, look, I said, you called me for help, and I'm honestly trying to give it to you, but I don't need the attitude. And of course, she bowed up on me and she said, well, now I pay your salary. I said, whoa.
Oh no.
2 things. I said 2 things. Number 1, I work for a private company. I do not work for the county. And number 2, we both know you don't pay shit. Not another word the entire ride into the hospital. That was it. She hit me on that day, don't do that to me. Yeah, I did. I said, we both know you don't pay shit. And so
that is great.
But that's, we run into that here. I do tell stories I shouldn't tell about.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of that here too, unfortunately. But
I've got some. I've got one my wife particularly loves, and I don't know if I should tell it, but
go for it. What the hell?
Well, the statute of limitations, I'm pretty sure, is expired. So
no.
I was on about a 72-hour shift. I was tired.
Oh.
And my station that I worked, it was a busy station, was centrally located, and that's where they put the best medics. That was the station where when everybody else went, oh, shit, what do I do? We were the ones they called. So you never got any sleep. And I just kicked myself out again. Okay, there we are. So we get this call, and it's a drunk. I don't like drunks. I'm sure you don't like drunks. Nobody really likes drunks. But this dude, he went past drunk. He truly was into alcohol poisoning. Crap, I got to take this guy. Even worse, I had to start an IV on him, and I just detest start IVs on drunks. I don't know why, but I hate it. And but anyway, I started his IV, and I put him on the monitor, and I'm sitting up in the captain's seat behind him. And it's like the whole way into the hospital, he had his right hand up against the cabinet there, and he was fiddling with the tags, and he was, doing this and that and the other thing. And man, all of a sudden, that hand dropped like a rock, and his head rolled off to the side. Oh, crap! This is not a good thing. And the monitor in that particular truck, you actually had to stand up and to look at it. And I swear, and I know all my brothers and sisters in EMS are going to call bullshit on this, but it looked for all the world like course VPN. And I thought, oh shit. And I have no reason why. I have no way. I have no clue why I did what I did next. I reached back and I slapped that son of a bitch with everything I had in me. And it sounded like a pistol shot. And my driver went, God damn! And pulled over. And I don't know why I did that. I do not know. But 3 or 4 months later, I got called to the same guy's house, and he was drunk as hell again. And he had apparently decided that I saved his life that previous time, because he had said, "Oh man, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful you saved my life. And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, dude, but I'm gonna be too busy to keep doing this shit. So, he signed a refusal, and then my partner and I laughed 5 miles back to the station. We were just hysterical. And every time one of us would calm down, the other would start laughing again. And to this day, I honestly have no reason or explanation for why I did that. I don't know. Totally unprofessional, but God, it felt good.
I bet so. That is great.
God. That reminds me of the story case of we had a law enforcement officer that kind of did that to somebody and lost his job.
Yeah.
And then the guy, once he got out of jail, because he went to jail, once he got out of jail, was calling us because he was upset that the guy lost his job and wanted the sheriff to give him his job back because he'd done the right thing by him by slapping him upside the head.
Yeah, this drunk apparently, and probably to this day, still thinks that I saved his life.
Right.
I don't know why, but he's convinced that it is. So, and I doubt he's ever going to hear this podcast. So, like I say,
right.
I know the criminal statute of limitations is. I'm pretty sure the civil has as well. So I feel fairly safe in telling the story now. But,
oh goodness!
Yeah.
Wow,
that is great.
Well, and I would love to be able to. Yeah, I'd love to be able to say that was the only time that happened. It wasn't. So, but I'm not going to go into that one. So.
Right. Don't give away too many secrets, because
no. I got to hold some shit back. You may want me back sometime. So,
Right. You don't want people to come looking for you.
No. Yeah. I do that now. Why do you think I carry the gun? Did I not mention the gun? There's a reason for that.
Well, I think we could definitely have you back on another episode for sure, because I know that you
I'd love to. I would love to. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yes, indeed. It's hard to believe that we've actually been talking already for like an hour. Already.
Almost an hour. Yeah, I know. I was surprised.
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, my social calendar is not real full. So.
Well, so this will conclude this episode, but we will definitely have you back on if that is something that you would like to do and get into more stories.
I'm going to be real interested in seeing how you describe this one. When you put it, the description is going to be interesting.
Thanks, Chip, for being on with us. That was such a fun episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it too.
Till next time, y'all. Bye.
All right. Bye.